live. Another episode of The Oddest Couple. I'm Felix Savine with John Alight. Quick reminder, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe right now. Like this video, comment anything that you're feeling or thinking at any point in time. Join our Patreon. We have our community of Patreon members where they can ask live questions during call-ins, bonus episodes. Everything goes there early. So join the Patreon. It's a lot of fun over there. John's showing off his new teeth.
Doctor in Albania, Dr. Zuka. He's did a great job.
Yeah, John just got back from Albania, big tour, and he's got a new set of pearly whites. So we're back. We got the show back, and we got the new teeth, so we're ready to rock.
I think he spells it Z-H-U-K-A, I believe.
So if you're in the region, go check him out.
Yes.
Okay, today you were talking to me about
Digital currency.
Yeah, which when you say digital currency, you don't mean cryptocurrency? You mean
No, it's actual. They're talking about getting rid of cash around the world and doing everything digitally.
So you think that's a good or a bad idea?
No, terrible.
Why?
Because if we learned anything through history, is if we trust our governments to govern us and control us, they only keep abusing more and more power. And then they'll have complete control over your independence. So you'll have no personal space. You will be controlled completely. They'll know everything you're doing. And they abuse power. And that's why our Constitution and Bill of Rights was set up the way it was, because the Bill of Rights was to control corruption within governments, which through history we've seen what every leader has done, every government has done. And they'll just abuse it even further. And you can't allow that.
I think it's interesting also hearing it from you, because one of the things you were telling me when we were discussing the subject off air is like, coming from your background, they could get, I kind of almost understand though their stance too, where like cash business is risky, right? Like it does enable a lot of activity that you took part in.
Well, listen, most people, I'm a very small minority of.
It's true. There's not a lot of you.
No. And, so if they try to use that as their excuse, because their corruption is them. Look at these governments. Look at the corruption that goes on. Look at the stealing. Look at the inside trading, right? Look at, the control of the media. Look at companies like BlackRock. What's the other one? It's still off the top of my head. Begins with a V. But anyway, these two companies are controlling everything. They're controlling the pharmaceutical industry. They're controlling the media industry. They're rebuilding. BlackRock's in Ukraine. They're going to be rebuilding Ukraine. The same people that are in control of all these things are who? And this is what goes on with, if you allow them to get further control, people have lost faith in the medical world and scientific world because of corruption and the belief of corruption. Nobody trusts the CIA, the FBI. These are institutes of our country that everybody had so much respect for. And no matter what they say, it doesn't matter. They can spin it all they want. Everybody lost faith in it. They're looking at these institutes as if they were the mafia now. And rightfully so, because they're behaving like it. So how do you allow them to also control and tell you that you didn't pay your taxes, we're going to just take it out of here? Because that's what they're going to do. If you're not a good boy, we're going to shut your car off and we're going to shut your money off. And if you don't feel you owe as much taxes as they say, they're going to take it anyway. And if they feel like raising taxes, you can't fight it because it's here. Right. And they're going to take it anyway. Right. So that gives them totalitarian control.
What do you think?
Trouble with my words today.
It's the new teeth. What is the biggest, the most corrupt, I guess, practice that's going on today when it comes to
I'll give you one of the problems. Like we talk about battery operated vehicles. It started off as an option, right? And then it's being forced upon everybody.
Right.
But at the same instance, our same people in the media and the government are telling you they care about the inner cities. So if that's true, right? How are they going to afford these cars?
Right.
First, forget about the atmosphere. If it's true, they would all stop flying their private jets everywhere, because one trip by Bill Gates from one location to another is a lifetime of gas-ridden car by you. So if they believe that and they know that they're causing that much damage to the atmosphere, why are they flying around in their private jets then? So if you want to believe people, right, it's by their actions, not by their words, right? I could talk all I want, but it's by my actions that I change my life. No different than when they talk about, like, taking away guns. Whoopi Goldberg talked about it. Senators talk about it. This and that. Well, when they all get rid of their private security and all their guns with their private security, I'll believe they mean what they say. But when my friend's walking down the block with his children, he doesn't live in a good area, and he has a gun to protect his children while they go to school so they don't get shot, like so many kids are getting shot in south side of Chicago, then I believe them. So if we're going to allow them to abuse everything as they are now, why would we further let them abuse it and put digital currency in our wrists or wherever they want to put it, a chip, and control your life even further? Because at this point, you never seen anybody get any better. They get worse with power. And if anybody shows that at any level, it's the mafia, right? So the idea of stopping the mafia is stopping power, right? Supposedly. This is what the government says. But now the government is behaving worse than the mafia has ever behaved.
I guess talking about power too, I've never asked you this. Because you obviously had a certain level of power when you were running things. What, for people that haven't partaken in or have never, held power to that level, what's it feel like when you have money and you have power and you're able to control things?
You know how often I say to people, God, if you ever had my power and if you ever had the ability to do what I was doing with shootings, you would be such a son of a bitch, because you're a son of a bitch now and you have no power.
Yeah.
So, people just tend to abuse it because they're egomaniacs. And, so if you're going to allow, over the years, that's why Hitler became what he became, because people allowed him to keep taking. It doesn't happen just in one day. It's slowly done.
Right.
And when an empire or a country tumbles and falls, it's not overnight, right? And no different than what's going on now. I don't know, everybody's not yelling about this, especially kids. They don't like their parents telling them what to do. So the more the government increases, big government, and the more regulations, they're stepping on everybody's freedom. So if they see that constantly now, and what I was getting at before was it started off with cars and then it went into ovens in restaurants. They're allowed to have them if you go to all their houses. These same people are implementing these laws are the same people flying around in jets. They work for us. They forgot that. They work for the people. We're not their servants. We're not their slaves. And I think they're trying to go back to that slave days. They're just doing it in a different way. They go around about a way of doing it. And, if somebody buys into, most of the earth is water. So if they're worried about the environment, that's number one. Two, if you're really worried about the environment, they would do what I just said. They'd stop flying around jets and this and that. And they would force the issue for China and India. So we don't put a dent in anything, even if it was true what they say. And there's opinions by scientists that say that's nonsense. So depend on where you stand. But if China and India don't get involved, which they're not, we don't even put 0.25% difference in the atmosphere. And along with these guys flying around in private jets, that's how you know they're full of crap. Because you got guys like Al Gore that's been talking about this forever. But if you go log in all his private jet flights, we'll see how full of shit he is. So, these guys just talk a good game. So if you allow them now to take stoves, the grid couldn't take it. We'd have blackouts day and night, that you wouldn't be able to drive your car. You remember last year, what's his name, Newsom said in California, can you restrain from driving your cars right now? What are you talking about? You hardly got any electric cars, and you're already asking people to stop. But if you're able to turn off their switch here with money and say you're not driving 4 days this week, and that they'll do that. If somebody says, oh, that ain't never going to happen, oh, yeah, it will happen because they don't stop abusing the law. This is back to Trump again, why I don't like what they're doing to him, because they're going to do it to you next, the next person. They did it to other people. They didn't give them exculpatory evidence. And this is the abuse of the freedoms of this country. So then we're not free America anymore. If they're going to tell you they're going to spend your money the way they want, you're going to control your money the way you want, then there isn't. What happens for the guy that wants to save his money and give it to his grandchildren? What happens with the person that wants to give one person more money in his family than the other? You can't because it's on a chip. Where's your privacy? See, they're not taking all that into consideration. Or when you want to give a gift to somebody, your wife, how do you do that? If she's got a shared bank account, a shared chip, you don't have it now, you all have separate chips. Where's the privacy?
Do you feel like when you were in jail, how much were you up to date with some of the politics or the corruption of everyday what was taking place? Because you've always been interested.
Jail's corrupt. The system.
Right.
You can't make a phone call. They rob the crap out of the inmates. It's a monopoly.
Yeah.
Right? All the merchandise that's sold within the jail, you can't get it in there. Guarantee you can't get. You can never go for a bid there. It's not going to be given to you. It's going to be given to somebody who's politically strong. They give them, this is payoff money. There's no way we could get in there.
Right.
So you go into a system that's jailing kids from my neighborhood that's run with corruption. They say it's not, but it is.
Right.
So when it's an open bid and the public knows about it and everybody can go in and try to get those accounts, but it doesn't work like that. They keep raising prices like crazy, and those are inmates. I went to see my son the other day in jail, and I forgot how it is. Because when you go there, it's abuse. Those parents and those people that are visiting their family members in jail, they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't break the law, but they treat them as if they did.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's horrible. They start, it's intimidation. There's kids there that and even if they don't mean it, they don't use any kind of tact. So when they start off, they start with a threatening manner. If you try to bring anything in here, you're going to be arrested. If you're wearing chains, rings, double rings, this
treat you like a man.
This is how they're talking to them. And they can say what they want, but it shouldn't be done that way because there's elderly people there. Yeah. You're scaring them. You have children, you're scaring them. You're making it a bad experience where they don't want to come back and visit people that they love because they're being intimidated. And, they can say they don't mean it that way, but if I tell you what they run through before you go to jail to go visit, it's incredible. If you walk in and your visit's terminated, if you do this, if you don't go in your locker, if you got to come back in your locker, and they're running all the rules out. Now, they're going to say, well, people sneak things in. They're right. But there's got to be a different way to do it. There's going to be a different tact of doing it. And the money that's being made in these institutes, it's incredible. So when they open up a jail in a location and you use it Bradford, PA, think about the money not just from the institute, from the telephones, from what the inmates are spending inside jail, from the hygiene things. But now think about that whole area. Gas stations are making money. Hotels are making money. Restaurants are making money. The medical field's making money for people that are visiting and get sick. Right. And go on and on. The economy of that area, of that town, has just quadrupled. They don't want these jails to close down. Plus, all the people in those towns got jobs now.
Right.
From every aspect, they get work. So it's become an industry of big business. And when they're making money of big business, you can't trust. Like, we'll go back into medical, right? And I won't go into, people back and forth with the vaccine. You believe it, you don't believe it. That's not the problem. The problem is when there's not open rhetoric and you can't discuss it and question it, then it's the fact that there goes the trust out the window. Because if you're not allowed to talk about it, or you're being threatened or forced, there is no free America.
How much do you think that like the decrease of organized crime in general since your time has played into how now the government, I guess, increases control? Because when you guys were running things, like the mob was arguably bigger than the, at least let's call it in New York, right? The mob had more control. Mob controlled everything.
Well, listen, Andrew Cuomo, right, when he was governor, like him or not, if John Gotti was around,
right,
and he ever pulled that stuff, what he did with the elderly, he would have told us, we don't care if he's governor, we don't care what he is. First he'll get his warning, after that he'll get hurt or killed.
Right.
And, people say, well, that's the mafia, that's not. Well, in my opinion, he killed a lot of old people, right? Heartless. He had access to ships and barges and different things, and he could have safeguarded them a lot more. Instead, he was too busy making money and writing books. Now, he's just one of several, like I said about Chris Christie before. Right. I don't care what side of the aisle. It has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the abuse of their power, their egos. They start abusing who they are, and we put them there. They're voted in by us. They don't control us. This is not the day of the czars and king and queens, and we're just pawns. And that's what their thinking has changed to.
Right. And
how people are not seeing that is really incredible to me. They're busy in their own little lives. They're not seeing how bad this is. But the mafia was controlling at one time the construction industry. Now the government does.
Mm-hmm.
The mafia was controlling the drug industry illegally on the street, but now it's legal in a lot of aspects, like marijuana and different things. Now the government's controlling it. The mafia was controlling different industries. Now the government controls.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about even the medical field. When they start pushing things like the 5 crime families, they are the one crime family. And there's a lot of good people that work in the government, but if what's happening now is they can't work, even if they want to work,
right.
because they're also being maneuvered, and so things have to really change. That's why I always do term limits is a big thing, because if there's term limits, they can't get away with. When you got guys like Mitch McConnell, who's playing a monopoly game with our lives and money, he's these guys at the 80-something years old doesn't want to go away and go retire because of the power. And he's filthy rich, making money all over the place. So you're a Republican. I believe he's married to a Chinese woman in China. She's here, but she's Chinese. So his goal is not for the people. It's for himself. They forget who they think they're going to never die or something. They're 80-something years old. Go retire. Go live on the beach.
Sure.
And they shouldn't be allowed at this age anyway in government. What can they possibly, what does that man know about a 16-year-old kid that's from Bushwick, Brooklyn? Yeah. What does he have in common with him? What does he understand that he wants for his future? Nothing.
I completely.
Literally nothing. So you need somebody who's young. You need young blood in there. People that with term limits that really care about the neighborhoods and kids and the future. Not to give the government more and more power. And this is what I don't understand. The more they regulate things, the more the government's in. Why are people just allowing it and accepting it? So you're going to take somebody that owns a restaurant, and I talked about this off air. In Newark, they're having problems with barbershops. Whatever they're doing, they're partying, they're drinking, they're smoking, who knows? But how can you just change the law for the people that are doing the right thing and they're going to work and they want to stay open till 10 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock? It's their right. They own the business. They put their blood and sweat and tears in there and their money. Now, you want to close some other, then go to legally with police and do what you have to do if they're doing something wrong. Fine them or close them or whatever. But you can't just change the law and say, okay, you can't open after 6. Sorry, we don't care if you can feed your family. I mean, they did this during COVID too. This is not normal. And why are people allowing them to lose their livelihoods? And now they're going to try this with restaurants. How can a restaurant make? And I'm no expert, but you got I don't know how many thousands of restaurants in the city. If they all turn electric, the grid will fall. You're going to have power outages. How are they going to cook these kind of meals this fast on electric stoves?
But that's why I think it's interesting, right? It's like a lot of the tactics that you guys used to use, on especially when, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the meat markets, the seafood markets, right? You guys would tell specific people, you can do this when we tell you to do it, and you can't do this when we tell you to do it, and that's it, or else you, well, fuck you.
The Teamsters was very strong before, right? And, you know, when Hoffa would be, when we did that show on Hoffa, and Hoffa gets killed, but it was very simple, right? Because if you control the trucking, you can control construction in the city. So if you control Hoffa, he controlled the city. And that was the power grab, because if you were on a job site, you didn't do what we said, call up Jimmy Hoffa. Hey, Jimmy, whoever's his friend at the time, don't send no trucks to that job. You know, don't send any material. Don't send this. There's no violence necessary.
Mm-hmm.
It's just don't send material, and there's the end of your job. Now you're going to comply.
Right.
Well, you're not going to get anything. So this is what's going on with the government now. They're doing that. They're controlling every job site.
Right.
Or you're not going to get this, or you're not going to get that, or we're going to close you down, or we're going to close your barbershop because there's other barbershop. This is their excuse. That's communist. That's not freedom. So how can they tell you that you're going to, what happens if you got a tattoo shop next week and you're open and another tattoo shop's doing something wrong?
Right.
Is it going to close you all down and tell you you're only open 3 days a week now? That's their new law. This is communism. I don't know how everybody's not screaming about this. Now they're talking about compromising with the people in Newark. What compromise? There is no compromise. You're the government. I'm a free enterprise. I put my money, my sweat and tears into this business. You're not going to tell me how many hours I can work.
Yeah.
Since when is this okay?
Yeah.
So going back to digital, what do you think they're going to do with that? They're just going to keep abusing it like they're doing now. You can't allow that. These are mob tactics. These are mob moves. These, you know, when I hear about, you know, gay rights, or you hear about, it's their individual right. They should be able to do anything they want with their lives. The government shouldn't be in it. That's it. Show life. Do what you want with it. Same thing in the work field. The same thing with religion. You want to be you want to be a Muslim. You're Muslim. You want to be Catholic. You're Catholic. You're Christian. You're Christian. You don't got to go get a vote from anybody. It's your personal life. Do what you want. You believe in God. You know it's a good thing. But when they're stopping this kind of stuff and dividing, you know, talking about race constantly, what is that gimmick? You know, people from our neighborhoods got to see through this, that this is just a divide thing, a Machiavelli move to conquer. And the more they can keep dividing everybody into groups, they conquer. And the more they attack our children, they conquer. You know, the other day I went to church, yesterday, and I was so happy to hear the priest talk. And his sermon was fantastic. And in church, you know, people that don't go to church, they don't ever clap when he talks. Everybody was clapping.
Right. Because
he was addressing this stuff, actually, about what's going on with the government and families. And it's incredible, the overreach into personal space that the government's trying to push now. And if somebody reads books on communism and dictatorships, they'll see what's going on.
Right.
It's very dangerous, and everybody should never allow that chip for payment. You know, they act like it's the Apple Pay when it's convenient once in a while. That was a test. That's all this stuff is.
Hot take. Yeah. No, I think, you know, some of the digital payments, I mean, it's very helpful. It's very useful.
It's like credit card.
I see what you're saying.
It's okay. It's useful, but when it's forced, it's not useful.
Right. I like everything.
Everything. Nothing. Digital, okay, use Apple Pay. We all use it once in a while. You don't have cash, you use your debit card, your credit card. This is normal.
Yeah.
But when they tell you you're finished, there is no more anything, it's only this. No, that's not America.
Right. Anyways, love your takes always. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, comment. What do you think? What do you think of digital currency? What do you think of
Who's the real mafia?
Corruption in general, the real mafia. Let us know in the comment section. Subscribe to our channel if you're new here. Follow us on Instagram. Join our Patreon channel. And we will see you very soon.
See you guys.